our children, and our infrastructure. So with that said, my comments today are not related to the integrity of the builder, but rather thinking through our community and thinking through the future of Troutman and whether or not saying yes to this aligns with the values of this town, investing in our current residents, not prospective residents, but your current residents, and looking at infrastructure and, most importantly, sustainability. So prior to this meeting, I looked at the material that you received beforehand. And I also looked into the growth of this town, which growth is amazing from my understanding. At one point, it was a one-light town, and it has since grown into the town that we live in today.
Ma'am, I'm sorry for interrupting. Mr. Mayor, we forgot to announce to everyone that there are 3 minutes. She still has over a minute left, but I wanted to make everybody aware that it's 3 minutes per person, depending on how she wants to finish delivering up the little over a minute that she has left.
Great, thank you.
And I do appreciate that, and I did notice that the applicant had an abundance of time, and I do ask for consideration that you allow us to extend our individual comments in order to allow us, as the residents of this town, to share our concerns, so long that it's reasonable and appropriate.
I normally give a little bit of grace.
Thank you.
But because there are so many people here, I want to ensure that everybody has ample time. So the applicant has more time because there's more detail that council needs to consider. So that's why we limit it to
Absolutely.
3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that said, this town is growing. It's no surprise that it's growing. My understanding is that it's growing at a rate of about 9%. With that said, there are already projects that are in approval, that have been approved, and that is about 7 that were cited in that study for the transportation study. It was 7 of those that were mentioned. That includes over 1,800 different types of property, whether it's single family or multi-family units. If we're looking at that, we're looking at about 3,600 additional vehicles just in those 6 properties that are going to be, or 7 properties that are going to be added. That doesn't include those commercial properties, it doesn't include businesses, and it doesn't include what is going to take place that was not in that study. With that said, we're also looking at, if we're going to approve this, we're looking at 344 units, probably about 688 vehicles, and 1,000 individuals. There was mention that the schools are at capacity. Where are we going to stick those children in those 1,000 individuals? Where are we going to stick their children if the schools are at capacity? We're also looking at a strain on public services. The power just went out. Will our energy grid actually support these additional homes? We're looking at water. And from my understanding, in an article that the town manager actually was cited in, he said in 2024, there were 2,900 individuals receiving water services. Now it's 3,900. That's a 33% increase. At what point is enough enough? This is a strain on your employees. This is a strain on your police department.
Thank you, Anna.
This is a strain on Parks and Recreation. Every single aspect. How long is it going to take an emergency vehicle to get through traffic? What we are saying is if we approve this, we are saying that
Thank
Main
you.
Street is going to become the next 150.
Thank you. Thank you.
And with that, I just ask that you deny this request.
Thank you. Anyone else here like to comment on this rezoning?
No, go ahead.
And again, please respect your neighbors. Try to keep it to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Town Councilman, Manager, but we wasted my time. I'm a homeowner on 414 Clance Hill, and I did get the 100-foot buffer. I was
Yep.
clear that up. I did have a meeting with Pulte in Charlotte.
Excuse me, please say your name.
Kelly Robinson.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, and I did have a meeting with them in Charlotte, and they agreed to that down my driveway, but I did agree to go back to a 25-foot on the backside, so that helped out a lot. They've been very cooperative, I will say that. This was all family land that I'm attached to here with the Clonks, and I didn't even know about this happening until it was already taking place and already had a contract in place, and also I didn't get a chance to really work on any property for us, but for my family and all, with the house I built there, I built a nice brick home there out in the county. And just talking about the building, I know you gotta have places for people to live. And Troutman, you know, there's like always advertisers open for business, but with all the growth comes consequences. I'm on 2 fire departments, and I know the strain it puts on it. All I'm asking here is to keep it RA, residential agriculture, because of the growth. And if you're gonna put all this into play, we gotta have the infrastructure in place to take care of the people that we're putting there. So my opinion is it goes back to residential. You work with septic tanks and water, you deny this, you have a planning board that was put in place. They're there for a reason. They give the recommendations. I know you can override it, but put in that very good consideration that your planning board is doing a good job for your town, and they're looking for your best interest.
Thank you.
Sir. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm gonna get my name right this time, Barbara Williams.
Thank
When
you,
I
Ms.
spoke at the planning board, I think I gave my maiden name, Barbara Hedrick, but I knew I only had 3 minutes, and so I was talking very, very fast. I didn't realize we were going to be able to speak tonight, or I would have planned a statement. I just want to point out 3 things. I know, I respect and care for my neighbors. They have every right to sell their property. But just as the gentleman said before me, to sell it to 344 homes is just not right for this location. This is a little 2.5-mile road that is now a segue from Perth to Interstate 77. My obituary is probably going to read that I was T-boned pulling out of my driveway because the traffic is so horrendous already. The fact that they talk about having pool on one side, fire pit, and, you know, kids having to cross the road, I can just envision a child crossing that road and he's dead. I just cannot see the amount of traffic that is on Clontz Hill now that will be added to with 344 homes as rational. It's just not. And I understand legality. It is legal for them to say that it's going to be 344 houses on 148 acres. But when you take that 68 acres away for roads, drainage areas, that leaves 80 acres. Do the math. 80 divided by 344 is 4.3. So at the least, it's going to be 4.3. When you divide it up into medium and lesser density, that's going to put 6 on some. It's just too much. And as I said in my previous statements, it's a nail in the coffin of our community. I am begging you to pay attention to the recommendation that was given by the Planning and Zoning Board. One last thing. I'm a retired teacher, and I don't know of any school in Iredell County that a year after they opened, they didn't have to bring in trailers. I'm not sure of the exact amount, but I know the freshman class of South Iredell was over 500 students. It's just too much. It's just too much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this rezoning? Sir, you had one more gentleman in front of you. Okay, great. I was going to ask. Oh, you're good. Go ahead. He's going to concede your time, so you're good.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Rob Blight. My wife, Deanne, and I, as you probably already know, own some of the property on Clontz Hill Road that is up for consideration for rezoning and annexation. In a perfect world, we wouldn't be here tonight. We wouldn't be talking about selling this farm. But the reality is we're at a point where keeping it and maintaining it just isn't possible for us anymore. My grandfather purchased the farm that we live on in January of 1924. It's where my dad grew up and lived. It's where I grew up working and hunting and playing. My kids grew up here as well. But maintaining the property is a big task, and farming is no longer a doable option for us. Our children are grown, have moved away. They have families and careers of their own. We don't have the help, the energy, the equipment, or the money to buy equipment to continue to properly farm the land. Luckily, for the last few years, we've had some help from Scott Clontz and have been able to sell the hay off the fields to show an income, but we were notified last fall that we are in jeopardy of losing our current use as farm as taxation rate. As you can imagine, that will result in a significant increase in our property tax, The income from the sale of the hay doesn't even cover the current price, the current taxes that we pay. And in addition to that, we have to keep an insurance policy on the farm in case somebody who is trespassing on it gets hurt. It costs us more every year to own a farm. In the past, we tried leasing it to another farmer, but that didn't go as we had hoped. He did not respect the land, and he tried to flatten the terraces. His poor techniques left deep ruts and tore the ground up so much that it took us years to bring it back to even a usable hayfield. And his methodology left us with a mud field running through our backyard every time it rained. We talked about selling it to another farmer, but if you're going to sell it, you might as well sell it and get as much out of it as you can. We never anticipated selling the farm when we bought it from my mom, but at this point, with much thought, prayers, and discussion, here we are. We have to make good decisions for ourselves, our family, and our community. We've turned away countless offers over the last few years that have ended up in our farm being a mobile home park or a warehouse, or one guy wanted to build baseball fields. But now we're at the point we've worked with Pulte for the last 2 years, and here we are. My grandfather raised a family here, as did my father, and my wife and I did as well. We've looked at other housing developments, and Pulte is providing a top-notch opportunity for our area. The town will see an increase in its tax base. The local established business will see an increase in their sales and revenues. New businesses will move into the area, bringing additional amenities. We appreciate your consideration. Hope that you will see the overall benefits and vote to accept the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Martin Barletta, and I live on Hamptons Cove Road. I would also like to respect the family, and I'm sure that Pulte is a good corporate citizen, or else they would not be in front of us today. And what I'm about to say has no direct implication on either one of those. The family has, as he stated, farmed the land for many years and would like to do whatever he can to preserve his financial well-being, and I'm not here to stand in the way of doing that. I am here, though, to bring up some interesting information that I have found during the dialogue. Number one, we have not talked about the schools. I believe the former teacher mentioned trailers, and I was educated in a trailer in a town outside of New Haven, Connecticut for 5 years because the school wasn't ready for the neighborhood that was built. I'm a child of the 60s. It wasn't 350 homes on a farm. Second, traditionally, again, I am new to North Carolina and I'm grateful to be here. Traditionally, property tax generated from residential property tax does not meet the expenses required to support and serve those individuals. We have referenced property tax. We have referenced someone just recently, business, and being able to shop and spend locally. Yesterday, from Hamptons Cove Road to YCP, directly across the street, took 31 minutes. You're talking about traffic improvements at Clontz and Flower House and 21 and Flower House, or what about the rest of town? Because it's going to bottleneck. Eastwood Homes is putting, I believe, 90 some townhouses and some single-family homes at 720 South Main. There are other developers talking about expanding other parts of town. While I agree that the family should sell their land, if that's their wish, and I agree that a developer should develop the land, 344 homes, equating to 6.3 homes per acre, as Paul Henkel mentioned, is not the way to do it. So if I'm not familiar with your zoning laws, I moved here 6 months ago, I will say I'm concerned about safety, students in schools, and the density and how much time it's going to take us to move emergency services, family, friends, and those people that use Clontz Hill Road as a shortcut from one side of the town to the other, followed by those who have to react when traffic is backed up, when 77 has an accident, 21 is backed up because of 77. And I personally will tell you, I heard someone mention about pulling out of their driveway, getting T-boned. Try pulling out of Hamptons Cove Road at rush hour to go to the grocery store or to go to the park or to do whatever you want to do. That dip on the bottom of that road, putting 688 potential cars on that road, not a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, Hello, my name is Stephanie Kaufman, and I live in the Winding Forest community, which is right off of Perth Road. I would just like to say all the information that you need to deny this rezoning is right in front of you. It is very apparent that there are several concerns regarding schools, infrastructure, safety. This was the first that I had heard about the crosswalks, but I could not think of a worse idea. Basically with the pool on one side, you got probably 400 kids on the other side, potentially crossing Clontz Hill Road at any point of the day. I don't care if the speed limit says 45 miles an hour. People don't go 45 miles an hour, okay? Even reducing it down to 35 miles per hour is a gamble, like he mentioned before. We are gambling on so many things. We do not have the infrastructure to support this yet. I am not in denial that development will come, and we cannot stop development, but this is reckless and this is dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ann Clontz Oster, and my parents are Clinton and Charlotte Clontz. I am here on my dad's behalf. He is in favor of the project that Pulte is proposing. He grew up on Clontz Hill Road, and at 91 years young, he has decided it is the right time to sell this property. For those of you born and raised in Troutman like us, I'd say his stamp of approval should carry some weight in your decision. With the exception of serving in the Army, he spent a majority of his 91 years in Troutman. He retired the first time from Duke Energy, and from the early days of his career managed the downtown Troutman office, then on to Mooresville, repairing power all over Troutman, likely for some of you, your parents, and your grandparents. He worked hard serving this town, and he appreciates Pulte has worked hard to make the accommodations that many of you requested. Known for his strong and tireless work ethic, like you, he has expectations of Pulte to work hard with the town of Troutman to make this a project everyone can be at peace with. Whether you agree or disagree, we are asking your respect and consideration in accepting and approving this project. We think that bringing a neighborhood with a variety of amenities that this one will offer is a positive addition to Troutman. Many counties south of here have been enjoying neighborhoods like this for years. He's ready for other families to have the opportunity to build memories in a safe neighborhood setting on a road named after his family. We hope you consider voting yes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, Town Council members, Mr. Town Manager, my name is Scott Clontz, and I'm here representing my mom and dad who are in the audience with us, 84 and 82 years, beautifully young. I probably spent $300 on diesel fuel this week and got almost nothing because of the 2 days of rain that weren't forecast. Last year it was $4,000 for that fuel. Things ebb and flow. I'm not working for the government, so it's kind of hard to go ask for a handout from some other government entity, but we try hard. We've tried hard for years to keep it clean, keep it presentable. We pick up trash. We pull wrecked cars out of ditches. But for over 100 years, my family's been here on this farm. You go through the whole list. Kelly's grandma, Ann's dad, my great-grandfather, my dad, my mom, dad, and I together between us 199 years that we've been doing something with our hands on this farm. So it's hard to make that change. A small family farm fits in a rural environment, and this is no longer a rural environment. This is suburban. I have to dodge tractors and try to figure out who's trying to speak sign language with me with one middle finger. Try to keep myself safe. And my dad, up until his heart surgery last month, was driving a tractor and just scared me to death. So we have to make an adjustment. We have to make a change. With growth comes increased value, and this results in increased cost. And so our costs are going up basically primarily with taxes. Two, talk specifically about some of the things that have been addressed tonight, our goal is to leave a legacy for my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my dad, and my new great-niece and nephew. You discussed the crosswalks, Mr. Oxshire. I'm 100% in favor. My mom is scared to death to drive after dark because somebody will be walking up and down Perth Road, and she couldn't live with the fact that she'd hit somebody on a three-wheeler or a motorcycle or walking down the road. I'm with you 100%. But a lot of things that have been presented here tonight specifically related to the Department of Transportation, and we know how screwed up that is. All you have to do is look at Clontz Hill and Perth Road. That should have never been approved. Traffic accidents have actually slowed down because we used to sit on the front porch of the little yellow farmhouse and figure out whether or not that one that's coming 70 down the straight stretch is going to make the curve or not. So it happens. I appreciate the job that you folks have to do. It's an important consideration. I ask that you respect our ability to comply within your constraints to have this rezoned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. No, not at this time. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I'll get my name down here.
Yep.
I'm Franny Hanrahan. I'm a resident of Troutman. I didn't plan on speaking tonight, but I'm going to. So I want to say the planning board did an incredible job last time asking questions that I'd have never thought to ask. They pointed out some really major concerns, such as the pedestrian issue, the pool on the one side, people crossing back and forth, putting a fire pit on the other side doesn't help. It's just people are going to be crossing the other way now. The crosswalks, you know, that was a maybe solution, and it's an if DOT approves it. So that's a big if, and I'm really not sure that's going to help. Slowing it down to 35, who knows if that'll happen? Who knows if that'll help? Definitely dangerous. The board also pointed out that there was not really any street parking in the plans. So it's a 2-car garage. There's room in the driveway for 2 more cars. Plenty of people fill their garages with boxes, kid stuff. I got lots of it. With no street parking, if anybody has family reunion, a couple people over for the Super Bowl, there's nowhere for those cars to be. They're gonna park on the street. And when they park on the street, if an emergency vehicle needs to get through, that's a major concern. Again, that came from the planning board. I mean, you guys are incredible. So, this property, certainly they have every right to sell. I would do it. But it does not have to be rezoned to sell. They will still make millions of dollars. They deserve it. It's their property. I'm all for it. But it does not need to be rezoned, which would, if we don't rezone it, then we're reducing a lot of the negative impacts. This is going to add, you know, easily 700 cars. We already have a major traffic problem, local schools over capacity. Developer didn't have any solution for that. I understand it's their property, but I'm sure they care about kids' future education, so you guys could literally have the impact on thousands of kids getting a lower quality education or getting the education that the Troutman schools are trying hard to bring about. There really is no benefit for Troutman residents. You know, a lot of people oppose this. They oppose it because we don't see the benefit of it. The family's gonna, be able to sell, property's gonna get developed. It doesn't have to be rezoned to do that. So I'm weighing in that I sure hope you guys vote this down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on this rezoning?
Mr. Mayor, Town Council, my name is Gresham Gwill. I've lived on Clontz Hill Road for 24 years. Like many of my neighbors, I moved here because of the peaceful countryside and its close proximity to the town of Troutman. This proposed development of 344 homes threatens to undo what makes the Clontz Hill Road community special. This is not just another construction project. It represents a significant disruption to the daily lives
of those who live here. The increased traffic alone poses a safety issue. The developer's plan is to add 7 additional entrances onto Clients Hill Road. The traffic that we are seeing now poses a safety concern for me just going to my mailbox. Police officers are being used on Sundays to help with traffic leaving Watermark Church. The noise pollution from construction as well as ongoing burden of increased population density would irreversibly change the character of our neighborhood. Local schools are already feeling the burden of overpopulation. Troutman Elementary is currently using mobile units to house the influx of students. Furthermore, the environmental impact, loss of green spaces, increased runoff, and potential harm to local wildlife should be carefully considered before moving forward. The small town Troutman community seems to be quickly going away. As I drive through and around Troutman, all I see are rooftops after rooftops. The beautiful landscape is disappearing before our eyes. Think about the increased burden on police and fire departments and the overcrowding of our schools. Also the deterrent to our environment due to the lack of green space and the safety to our community. You may say that some of the above mentioned concerns are items that are not handled by the town. However, you do have an opportunity to say no to this development. I would like to ask that you take a drive along Clients Hill Road and enjoy the beautiful countryside. The environmental impact of this construction will be irreversible. The proposed development will definitely increase the safety risk to the residents already living on this road. I'm respectfully asking that you sincerely consider saying no to this large housing development. The negative impact it will have on the community is great. Please consider the impact to the community and the added burdens to those who have to support the 344 homes. I'm respectfully asking that you vote no on this proposed development, ensuring the safety of all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sabrina Uphoff, and I reside at 250 Clients Hill Road, which is this property right here next to the road on the east side of the concept map with the long driveway. That's me and my neighbor right next to us are kind of blocked out. So everyone's already made great points, but I just want to reiterate that I married into a farming family. My husband's out there with our baby, but he comes from a strong farming family, and we totally respect the family's right to sell their property and to profit off of the farm that they've worked their entire lives on. It's more of the proposal that's being brought forward that I believe, and I think a lot of other people believe could be edited or worked on to better fit the needs of the Troutman community. As we've said, 344 homes in this small, what really is a small road, is just unsustainable for our community, unsafe for our children. I mean, now I'm gonna have an entrance to a major neighborhood right here in my front yard, and I have small children that play out there, as my neighbor does too, and it is a concern. But mostly I just wanted to say that this affects the entire community, but especially those of us that will have construction and new homes in our actual backyard. I know some things have been changed, but this really changes the entire landscape of our home and the property adjacent to ours. We know development and change is inevitable, but we do want to see it done ethically and with respect to those of us who already live in Troutman and already call this place home, which we believe that this specific proposal does not. So I thank you for your time. I appreciate you giving the community a chance to share our concerns, and thanks again.
Thank you. I'm going to ask this young lady to be the last. I think we've heard from most, unless you have something that is different than what's been said. We're going to close the public hearing. Thank you.
I live in the house beside her.
Please state your name.
Hannah Crosby.
Okay.
I live in the house like right beside her. My biggest issue is schools. I put my kid in school, and it's sad the amount of people that have to sit on the floor in a school bus because there's not enough room. Pulte Group, if you look on the internet, I would Google them. The reviews absolutely suck. And Clients Hill cannot handle the traffic, especially with sidewalks. It took me 15 minutes today to cross my driveway just to get to the mailbox without getting hit. It's sad. I couldn't imagine. I would never allow my kid to go across the street. The church even has to have cop help on Sundays. I would want you to look into what you're going to let come to Troutman.
Great, thank you. Council, you've heard from the public regarding this. Anything for the staff at this point?
Yes, sir. A couple things, as we've discussed previously and with the town attorney, everything that everybody said, regardless if they was a pro or a con of the issue tonight, I think were valid points. I don't think that anything anybody said anybody would argue was not factual for what everybody said. The issue comes with the town and you all is what the process is. With the first community meeting that happens, that's when the developer proposes what they want to do. They're supposed to go back and readjust, well, not necessarily supposed to. Some do readjust, come back before they go to planning and zoning. Planning and zoning board has no legal boundaries as to why they give opinions, but it is another opportunity that they are allowed to discuss openly and have personal opinions. And then the last decision becomes before town council that has to make a legal and binding decision, and our council has to do that based off of the law, not based off of certain opinions and or not based off of factors that are out of town council's control. One of the things that was mentioned several times this evening and even by staff is what is our local school situation. The elementary school and the middle school are overcrowded based off of their numbers. I think everybody in this room knows that that's a factual statement. However, do most of you all understand that a significant amount of students going to both of those schools do not live in the Troutman community? They're being bused here. They're being brought here from some other place. The school board and the county commissioners are the legal entities that's responsible to make sure that our children are safely educated and the numbers in the classrooms. We as a town and other entities provide them the information and growth so that they should make the proper decisions on that. And again, I went to school here. One of the accidents Scott was talking about in his front yard was me when I was there. I hunted that property. I've lived here for 50-some years. That property and most of those people, I was traveling at 10, 11, 12 years old. So I understand what everybody has said and the passionate in that you all delivered. But the school system specifically, that's not on the town council to make decisions on the schools. The next part was traffic. We as a town, Andrew and Alexa in our planning and zoning department, we continually ask DOT to make improvements. Part of their job is to make a master plan to where if there is developments, one over here, we don't know if and when this part here will ever develop, but if it does, we have to have a land use plan. What does that land use plan say that we can use in that area for? If it is residential or even business, what's the connectivity between the two? If it comes sooner, then that gets built out quicker, and then everybody has the arterial roads that they call to where you don't have to use a main highway to get to or from someplace. This is one of those neighborhoods that meets our arterial growth plan of how it will be connected elsewhere to alleviate some of the traffic. The speeding on Clance Hill Road, every one of you all are right. That happens every street, every road that we're on in Iredell County. And does it get worse? Sure, by sheer numbers, but going back to the 1970s and 80s, people was running 100 mile an hour on Clance Hill Road then. And it does not alter just because the traffic today. One of you all mentioned living in the neighborhood that's on Clance Hill Road, or one of the two neighborhoods on Clance Hill Road. They didn't exist back when I hunted and fished on them, and there was just as many people that was in opposition of those occurring. What happens then that council has to consider as far as the legal rights? does this development meet our UDO? And that's Unified Development Ordinance. Does it meet that? Does it meet the criteria? That's a legal question that they have to answer per our attorney. The next part of that is on the UDO requirements, how does it fit in with the neighborhoods? If there is something detrimental, meaning, as somebody testified earlier, somebody wanted to put a trailer park up in there. By our ordinance, that can't happen. By the county's ordinance, if it stays in the county, that could happen. So they chose not to, but we can't control that because it's not ours to control. This particular parcels are not in our, what they call ETJ, extraterritorial jurisdiction, which means we would have zoning authority. The only way we can have zoning authority here is if it comes in annexed and then have an opinion on that legally. The statute says we shall then reconfigure the zoning if it is annexed into the town. The traffic improvements that was notified, I wanted to point out to everybody in attendance, Kimley Horn is not just hired by the people wanting to develop the property to tell the story that they want them to tell us. Kimley Horn is actually contracted by the town because town council previously approved. We didn't like different people coming in and doing different studies. We wanted somebody that had the town's overall best interest. So we contracted a firm that goes out and knows all of our projects so that the connectivity pieces that I was telling you all about earlier, so that Kimley Horn under one umbrella, they know about the other projects that somebody mentioned earlier off of one of my previous quotes. The other neighborhoods are being built, true, but this developer, if it is approved, would have to make all these intersection improvements. It's not a if or a maybe. By what that traffic impact analysis is, Andrew's staff approves it, they shall fix that. It's not an option. But that also increases, as Councilman Jarosinski asked, on Highway 21. Most of you all in the room knew that for several years we've been trying to get the realignment of Flower House Loop and Houston Road. By doing that and having the turning lanes, again, I grew up on Flower House Loop. There's nothing you all can tell me about that I didn't see and drive through myself. But by adding these extra lanes, that frees up traffic and makes it move more fluid with the additional traffic signal lights. Some of you all have said adding the traffic signal lights is actually a hindrance. To some of you, the way you drive, maybe. But to others, it is a safety valve to make sure that people can get in and out. But again, I thank everybody for coming tonight and what you had to say, regardless of which side that you was on. But I was asked to clarify some of those comments just so that you all understand, while schools may be important to a few of you all, the majority of you all, that's not a decision that our council can delve into legally. That does not allow them to say that, because everybody in the room may agree with you, but the liabilities go back to the school board and the county to direct where that school system allotment should be. I forget which one of you all made the statement, as soon as they opened these schools, some of them's got trailers. True. When Lake Norman High School was built, the first day it had mobile units in the front yard. But I also want to remind you all, why do you think South Iredell is called South Iredell? When that was built in 1966, that was supposed to be the southernmost high school used in Iredell County. So things do happen, and everybody has to plan and change accordingly. The ramifications that the council has to consider, just so you all know, is what fits legally. If they have a legal reason that they can turn it down, that's on them, and what that legal reason is based off of everybody's discussion from the applicant to what you all said. If there is no legal reason to turn it down, and they do, then as our attorney can tell you, that's the liability to the town. While a lot of us, the saying I will use as he has addressed us before, what is always fair is not equal to everybody in this room. What is always equal is not always fair. So please understand, I don't know that there's one what I would call pro-growth person in this room, even though that's the first thing we all get accused of, depending on how some votes go. Mayor, I think I've explained everything I was asked to, but I'll be glad to elaborate if you all have specific questions.
Thank you, Ms. White. I think you said a lot in terms of what we were asking you to clarify. Before that, I want to make sure that we don't close the public hearing, we continue and go to the annexation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. There was one lady asking if she could ask a question. I realized that we had closed that, but I don't know what that question or comment may be.
Is the question to Mr. Wyatt or?
No, I had spoke with Andrew about some things I was concerned about that completely has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
We can talk to you
Yeah, yeah.
afterwards if that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
That's after this. She's wanting to talk at public comment after the public hearing.
Okay. Yeah,
That's just
yeah.
to clarify that.
Okay. Nope, I haven't closed the hearing yet. Okay. Ms. White, just so, and Attorney, just so that I'm clear, we want to do the annexation before we close this public hearing? Or do we want to move forward with it?
You can proceed,
Okay, all
yes.
right. Good. All right, council, you've heard from staff. Before we move forward to consider the adoption of the ordinance, I will close the public hearing and move to adoption of the ordinance 1625. I would, I'm sorry, let me, not 1625, I'll back up. Ordinance 1725 to extend the, it is 1625, 16, around the zoning classification. Once there's a motion. Once there's a motion. Regarding the ordinance 1625, changing the zoning classification, is there a motion at this time?
Mayor, I'm sorry, I didn't catch all that. What are you asking?
Consider adoption of ordinance 1625.
1625?
Yep. Item 9B, which is on the rezoning classification of the after described property.
Mr. Mayor, this one would be 1825.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
Yep.
Okay, mine says 16.
So is mine.
Yes.
We got a couple got 16.
Yes.
So 1825.
So I would like to make the motion that we approve the consideration of 1825 as the builder has attempted to meet all the community concessions, is willing to work with the future implementations by NCDOT concerning safety and crosswalks. They're willing to work with the adjoining church with connectivity, and they have conceded to all of the traffic upgrades provided in the TIA. One thing I would also like to mention in that motion is, I believe shortly before I came onto council, we had a proposal of a housing development on Perth Road called Saddlehorn that was denied by the council, and the builder went and built by right in the county with about a 10% reduction in their overall homes, and that development is using all of our town amenities and not paying anything into the town tax system for us to continue to provide future amenities and infrastructure for our town. So that's kind of one thing that comes, I take into deep consideration on this motion to approve. What's the outcome if we don't approve it? So.
Motion's on the floor to adopt ordinance 1625. 1825, I still got the 16 on here. Changing the zoning for classification. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I will second it.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other questions or comments from the council?
I will just simply say that what the town manager said, is accurate. The rest of my ability to, being around for a little while and seeing various situations unfold, not only with our own town, but with surrounding municipalities who have based their decisions, some on emotion and some on the legalities, and sometimes the emotions, when we're talking in terms of a nation that is built on laws and doesn't necessarily go strictly by the law, that they can get a little bit in trouble with the emotional part of it. And as the town manager said, I understand the school system. You know, I've got grandkids, had kids at one time. Department of Transportation in this state, I hate them. They know it, and maybe that's why they stay away from Troutman. Because they don't spend enough money in this town to give us the infrastructure, mobility-wise, that they should have done back in the 1980s. And I was around in the 1980s when they first said all these things they were going to do that they haven't done. We're still in the same road network that we had in 1980, 81. So I'm going to refrain and say I dislike it. At any rate, and these are the people that are responsible. The commissioners are the people that, and the Iredell Statesville School Board are the people you need to talk to about the school situation. The Department of Transportation, your local representatives, in fact, 2 of them are on transportation boards in their respective legislative houses to get more money. One of them is actually getting a lot of money for Mooresville, and I don't know why they can't get some more money for Troutman to improve our situation. But I have to look at this from a legal standpoint. I'm risk averse. I don't want to put my town in legal jeopardy, and I'm afraid if I voted another way, I would be. And you know, if this meets our plans, and you know, not being able to really rely legally on those other situations since they fall under someone else's purview and not this town council's. Again, I think if it's in a court of law, a judge would rule in the plaintiff's favor. So, you know, this is the reason I do it. There's a side of me that I understand. You know, as town manager, I grew up in Statesville. I've been around. I've been in Troutman since the 1960s, dating. Got married and moved to Troutman in the 70s, and you know, I can remember when Front Hill Road, my wife in high school, kids during the winter used to go snow sledding on that road. That's how least dense it was back in the 1960s. So again, I know where you're coming from, and if I could vote my emotions, I would probably vote no, I know, I would vote a different way, but I don't have that luxury, not as the final decision maker. And I think any good attorney would tell you that situation. So, you know, it's a rock and hard spot. There's going to be people leaving here tonight, they're going to be happy. There's going to be a lot of people leaving here tonight, mad as a Dickens, and I'm saying that politely. And I understand that as well. And I'm just sorry. But sometimes I've got to vote that what's in the best interest legally for the town of Troutman. That's what I'm elected to do. So I'm reluctant, but I've got to do what I've got to do. And feel that I've done the best thing, even though I know you disagree, but legally, the best thing I could do.
Anything else? All right. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? No. All those in favor have approved it, and we will move to a consistency statement. I would ask that you read the full statement.
I'll go ahead and read it since, all right, the action scrum. All right, rezoning to conditional zoning mixed residential is consistent with the 2018 Troutman strategic plan. Desire to keep the site at less than 2 units per acre, low density residential, and 2 to 3 units per acre, medium density residential, and keep underdeveloped areas untouched. Therefore, the proposed request is reasonable and in the public interest as it proposes to allow residential development in areas of Troutman where it is approved.
All right, thank you. That's a statement of consistency. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. We will move back up to the annexation of AX 2503, Clance Hill, and the same after described properties. Total 1.318 acres on Clance Hill Road. I will now open this public hearing and turn it over to Mr. Van Tresca.
Can we go, let me grab the clicker. Okay, again, this is a voluntary annexation request on the case we just heard. The applicant is Pulte Homes. It is zoned currently Iredell County Residential Agricultural. Location is Clance Hill Road. We heard the zoning change. This is a contiguous request, and you heard what the request was for. So that basically takes care of the annexation information. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions you might have for me about the annexation.
Any question for Mr. Van Tresca regarding the annexation? Okay. Anyone here from the public like to address the council regarding this annexation request? All right. Please state your name again.
Hey, I'm Franny Hanrahan. And you guys may say this is not related to this request, but I'm new to this and I don't always know what this means. But I get that it was just approved for the rezoning, huge disappointment, but I get that, that's fine. But you're saying it's for like legal reasons. I totally respect the law, we need to follow the law, big proponent of the law. But does that mean like the town of Troutman is afraid of being sued by Pulte because it like fits all the, checks all the boxes?
Yeah, that's really not part of the annexation, but in essence, that's the law.
Okay, so
And not just Pulte, but any
developer.
That we've agreed in our UDO, Unified Development Ordinance, by law, we've said, this is what we want in that area, this is what we'd like to see. This is the requirements in order for you to build in that area, so we give them that map and all those sorts of things. They conform to that with any now conditions that we've added to that. And then by law, that's in the state of North Carolina.
But they didn't agree to what we wanted, because what we wanted was the zoning that it had. At least that's what most of us wanted. So it's not like they fit perfectly into the plan. We have to change the plan. Oh, you guys fit. Come on down.
Yeah, so the zoning you had was not Troutman zoning. It was Iredell County zoning. So we're zoning them based on Troutman. So, which is different than what they had before.
Again, this is like,
Yeah, understood.
I don't know,
Yeah.
except that I know it was zoned for something, and they didn't fit that, so you guys just rezoned it, and now they fit, so they don't sue Troutman. Huge disappointment. I will leave that at that, and I'll
great.
also say, the schools are your problem. They're our problem, they're everybody's problem, so I get that, like, you guys don't directly have any effect on that. I totally understand it, but neither do the teachers and principals. I get that that's the school board, but if we've got a problem, we don't add more people to it. So
Thank you, Ms.
I
Hannah.
appreciate
Appreciate it.
what you guys do, but this is
Thank you.
incredible to me
Yeah.
that, you know, that
Thank
you
you, Ms.
would,
Hannah.
that you would do this, because
Yeah.
we just rezoned it, so we don't
Ms.
get
Hannah,
sued.
We're in a public hearing for annexation. Thank you. Any comments for the annexation? Yes, thank
Good
you.
evening, my name is Marcia Wright, and I just have four words, and it hasn't been addressed.
Excuse me one moment.
Sorry.
Excuse me one moment. Thank you. I didn't want you to be interrupted.
My name is Marcia Wright, I'm one of your neighbors. I just have like four words. What about sewer and water? Is Troutman providing that? Is it going to be city sewer and city water?
Yes, that's part of the annexation. Absolutely.
How does it cross the lake there?
I'll leave that up to staff to have the technical answer to that one.
It won't cross the lake at all. it already comes through Falls Cove neighborhood and then comes
All the
around.
Falls Cove neighborhood. And what about the amount of water that Troutman gets from Statesville and Mooresville? Is it adequate now with the sewer and everything? Is it adequate? Or are we going to request more water as these developments come? I've lived here since 2014, and I know what my water pressure is, and you're going to say, get a water gauge and put it on your water. But I know I've lived here, and the water pressure has slowly gone down as we add the new neighborhood, the new Falls Coves, the enclaves, whatever. It's gone down in my neighborhood.
To address your two-part question, we don't get water from Mooresville. We get it from Energy United by way of Newton. And yes, we do have water there, and no different than your own house. If you're cooking for 2 people, you use a certain amount of water and sewer. If you have company over indefinitely, or a house guest indefinitely, you use more. So yes, obviously if there's more people, we would need more. Our lines are there for that. Your comment
Are they large enough?
Ma'am, I can't go back and forth with you. The issue you was addressing about water pressure, that has nothing to do with adding new people on the line. Depending on where the line is located, we've got several that are complaining our water pressure is way too high. They're having to put pressure reducing valves. That is simply ebb and flow with the way the water lines are. If you have an issue with your water line and you think it's not adequate, by all means, let us know. We will come out and measure. The state standard minimum for low water pressure to me is crazy, but it's only 30 pounds per square. But we'll be happy to measure it, but it should not go down because there's 10 more or 100 more residences on that line.
Okay, I thank you for that. And as we add more houses, our cost of water goes up.
No, actually, no.
Well, we did have an increase in the water, did we not? Maybe
Yes.
I'm wrong.
Yes, but that had nothing to do with adding houses. It went just like everything else. Newton, who charges us for water, Statesville that charges us for water, it cost them more to produce the water. Nobody's getting water at 1970 rates. So every year they go up based off of whatever that is, actual cost to produce the water. We can't just have one rate and it remained that way for 20 years. We haven't went up in 3 years. So we are going up moderately this year to catch up with not going up on the last 2 years.
And how did that happen? Just oversight?
Well, again,
Well, this is not the time for that
thank you.
discussion. I understand that, and I apologize. But I just want to make sure we have everything, infrastructure, I understand, but I understand sewer and water too, and how you have to put different pipes in for different neighborhoods, and so I just want to
Absolutely.
make sure that's in alignment.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak on the annexation?
Yes. Thank you again. My name is Anais Taboas, and I am a resident of Troutman. And regarding the annexation, so I completely agree with we are a nation of laws, and we are here to abide by the rules, regulations, and the laws that we have. But circumstances change. There are reasons why you have the ability to approve and deny requests, and you're not bound at all times because circumstances change. Infrastructure changes, needs change, times change. Being held to something that possibly took place before a major catastrophe in our nation, being the pandemic, our world looks very different. And your strategic plan, 2018, we're in a different time than that period of time. I don't know when those documents were entered into. My guess is it was sometime prior to 2022. You are given the ability to deny things and legally do so, and we are asking you to use that power as members of the town council. Because if we didn't have that right, then why are you sitting here? Because the town manager, to my understanding, is not meant to be a persuasive body. It is meant to give you the neutrality, to give you the information. From my understanding, he works for the town and not Pulte. He works for the town. And so
Again,
what
Ms. Hannah,
I'm
thank you.
asking is for you to say, why do we have you if you're bound to a document and you can't use your own judgment and your
Well,
own
Let
reason.
me be clear. The
It's about the annexation, and my understanding
This is
is,
annexation.
how can you approve to change the zoning of something you haven't annexed yet? So I leave you with that, in terms of how were you able to zone the Iredell residential agriculture if it hadn't been annexed yet?
Okay,
And so
thank you.
that's what I raised. Obviously, I am not the mayor, I'm not the
Thank you.
town manager, I'm not the town attorney, I don't know the ins and outs. I am simply here to remind you, you have a job.
Great,
And
thank
it's to
you.
approve or deny.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Okay, great. If there's no one else, I will close this public hearing on the annexation request. Based on the comments that have been shared and the staff report, council, you've heard from both. We will now consider ordinance 1725, titled "An Ordinance to Extend the Corporate Limits of the Town of Troutman, Non-Contiguous." Is there such a motion?
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Again, before we move on, let me be clear on a couple of things. One is that this council has to make some very tough decisions. Not all of them are popular. I think part of that was already stated. I think clearly what we're attempting to do is follow the law, and when we do that, again, it's not popular. But I think clearly I respect each one of them in doing their due diligence to ensure that as we go Troutman, we're trying to do it in a responsible manner. Now, that may not look like what we all want. And for some folks in this room, they also know that I grew up in this town as well. I was born in Mooresville, and I grew up here. And so I take pride in our community. And when companies and developers come in, like Pulte, and want to sit down with the community and have a conversation and make some concessions, maybe not all of them. We've had some of them come up here, and they absolutely don't want to make any changes, okay? But again, if they're doing what we've asked by right, they can do that. But again, we've got corporations that come in our town and are willing to help mitigate some of the traffic, some of the issues. It's a larger picture than some of the things that others may see. So I won't be on my soapbox, but I just want to make sure that folks know this council is taking some very tough decisions, but it's also for the betterment of our community. And I thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The next item on our agenda is to consider approval of the trunk sewer reimbursement agreement between the town of Troutman and BCDG Shin Farms. Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. This is in reference to the information you have in your packet. It is to upgrade a trunk line size, and we have agreed with the developer at Shin Farms to do such. They actually offered to come this evening if we felt the necessity, but this is a standard practice. If a development is going to have to commit so much infrastructure.
One moment, Mr. Wyatt. Thank you.
As they're completing the infrastructure, our engineer at times asks for them to upfit lines, whether that be water or sewer. This particular one is a sewer, and we're just simply asking to go into a reimbursement agreement with them. As we stated Monday, we have consulted with the attorney, just to dot i's and cross t's, as they are already doing the work. They will still fall under the purview of our engineer, but it does not need to be bidded out, as it is simply a line upsizing.
Okay, Council, you've heard from Mr. White regarding this trunk sewer reimbursement agreement. Any questions or comments? Okay, is there a motion to approve this request?
Motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is our proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget. I will now open this public hearing and turn it over to Mr. Wyatt and Mr. Mundy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've worked several months. I will simply read a partially prepared by Justin and partially prepared by me budget review report. The town of Troutman's annual budget process is to some a very terrible and stressful time. I honestly thought most of these folks would stay for this part instead of the annexation part, because this really affects their pockets. Each department director is tasked with reviewing all the factors of their department, which includes past, current, and future expected demands. They will then review my directives as town manager and yours as council and consider the wishes of the community who want more. More is not just lovely items or a wish list. More to some is an improvement in the quality of life that we all desire. So adding park amenities, for example, does that for many. Adding new greenways for walking, running, biking, exercise is another excellent example for many others. Ensuring we have enough staff to handle citizens' needs and issues is a great example also. Former United States Secretary Jack Lew of the Treasury said, "The budget is not just a collection of numbers, but an expression of our values and aspirations." I am pleased to work with such an incredible group of employees who understands small town way of life. They all also understand that we are a very much growing town. They wear multiple hats, doing more than just their assigned job duties to ensure Troutman is the best place to live, work, and play. I tender to you our 2025-2026 fiscal year budget. There is no fanfare or hidden items in the budget. The budget is expected to increase by approximately 25% over the last year's budget that was accepted. The general fund is rising by around 21%, primarily due to an increase in personnel in the police department, planning and zoning department, and the administrative departments to keep up with our town's needs as it grows. Our budget proposal includes a tax rate of 0.50 cents per 100 assessment. The utility fund budget is increasing approximately 10%. This is mainly due to a budgeted increase in additional personnel that is anticipated to be needed, as well as increase in water and sewer rates that we're being charged from our current contracts. Additionally, with the town's growth, the volume of water and sewer expenditures has increased. Along with that increase, cost of supplies and equipment needed to maintain water and sewer equipment has increased. The budget proposal will increase water and sewer rates to balance revenues because of our expected new charges with expenses that have been passed on to the town through our water purchases and sewer treatment. We continue to benefit from the unprecedented growth, both residential and commercial sectors. We are aware of the future demands that growth will place on staff to provide services and for our current residents as our current residents are accustomed to receiving. The police department is expanding staff minimally in response to the town's growth and development. We are better prepared to serve our citizens by having backup clerk. Utility department personnel is also growing and fill in as needed. We're still playing catch up in certain areas. That is a normal thing you all hear me say. We are mindful that previous patches to town-owned parking lots and streets have given us some needed time. We will continue to make necessary street repairs and replacements as these items are deemed necessary, and include these items in our budget proposal. We will continue to develop Troutman ESC Park in accordance with the previously approved park plan. This past year, we have increased the town's parks by 2, one a neighborhood park, one a neighborhood area park on Morrison Farm. We have and will continue to make necessary upgrades to the landscaping around town and our new amenities. We are continuing to follow the master plan to complete the build out for our park. We will continue to add to our streetscape. The security of our citizens is not only a statutory obligation, but is also our priority. I'm appreciative of Chief Watson, Troutman Police Department, and how their department is growing in additional personnel, but how they also manage proper training to better serve our citizens. We continue to improve on training time and getting appropriate certifications to be a self-sustaining department for our officers, and more so they can perform their duties better, but also more for the service of our citizens. We, however, are out of space. We have added locations for evidence storage, and officers continue making more arrests. The demands on the court system is requiring that we keep evidence longer than we ever have before. We have added additional space for officers, but they still need more room to do their job effectively and legally. We continue to plan for growth by adding properties to the town, but we have every one of those office space used to its best potential. We need more office space to continue serving our citizens until the plans for a new town hall are complete. Other properties were purchased to revitalize the downtown area, but also to prepare for future growth. The town adopted a plan for that growth back in 2016-17. Additionally, future streets developed by the projects will require the town to assume additional liability for maintenance and repair. We are planning appropriately, and this budget enables us to continue serving our citizens properly at the lowest cost possible. More importantly, it reflects our team's dedication to performing frugally and proficiently for each taxpayer. It also allows us to continue preparing for our future needs. I will reiterate my closing statement of several years, and as it still remains true. It is not necessary to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. That quote's from Warren Buffett. That quote also exemplifies the dedication and job performance of our entire staff and team members. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. We appreciate you providing us with the necessary funding so that we can continue serving our town and citizens relevantly.
All right, thank you. Council, you've heard from Mr. Wyatt regarding the budget. Any questions for Mr. Wyatt? No? Anyone here would like to comment on the budget? Okay. No one wants to comment? Then I will close the public hearing. Council, we will now consider approval of ordinance 2225. Is there a motion regarding the budget ordinance?
Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve ordinance 2225 titled Town of Troutman Fiscal Year 2025-2026 Budget Ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a second? Motion is made, received a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you.
Hey.
I didn't hear it.
You didn't give a chance.
Okay. We have a nay in the room, so thank you. Yeah. The next item on the agenda is public comments. Anyone like to address the council?
Ma'am?
Please, again, state your name and sign in at the podium. We have a 3-minute time limit still.
First of all, thank you for giving me a few minutes here, even if it's 3. My name is Terry Hines, and I live in the new Weathers Creek community down by the new Food Lion there. And I've talked to Andrew a couple times. He's been very helpful and very kind, and being very supportive of the things I want to discuss with you tonight. And I guess what I mainly came here to ask is, how do we get a developer to do his job? Our community right now is kind of feeling like we're orphaned over there. And when I talked to Andrew back in February, he actually, I'm not sure it was the developer you talked to, who got in touch with the HOA man or whoever they were, because we don't have an HOA over there. It's all handled through somebody in Charlotte who doesn't answer his phone. There were many, many concerns which have not been addressed since February. And it's really starting to look a mess there, and the community's only 2 years old. We were given this list of things, it was kind of a punch list that the developer said he was going to do. He was going to restart the curb and gutter sidewalk replacement based on the town of Troutman's punch list on March 10th. We didn't see him till May. Pavement repairs and install top coat of asphalt week of May 23rd. He's never done the first issue. They showed up in the development maybe 3 times. There's so much work. The curbs are deteriorating and falling apart. The sidewalks have X's all over them. Hasn't even started. Basically what he's done is minimal. There are 6 benches that need to be put in the park, which are supposed to be put in on May 23rd. If he would just drop them off, I'm sure one of the community members would be happy to drill them and put them in for him. It's not that hard. There's 3 huge, I want to say potholes, but they've now become sinkholes. One of them right as you come into the community, one where the older section meets the newer section. People are almost hitting each other trying to get around them, not falling in them. We had people visit last week and from out of town, his front tire got in there. I actually went up with a bucket. There's a pile of stones left there, and I carried buckets over to try and fill those somewhat so that people aren't ruining their cars. And I'm not even exaggerating. Somebody needs to come out and see these. The roundabout. Nobody knows who it belongs to. It's completely full of weeds. It looks a mess. This says that weeds shouldn't be higher than 2 feet. We've got, yeah, we've got vegetation growing that looks like the green giant could probably get up on it. It is growing in yards, on sidewalks. It's a mess. I don't even know where to go with that. Our green space is brown dirt with broken wooden pieces and stones. I don't have children, but I wouldn't want my children in that green space. It's dirt. And unfortunately, I know I'm finished here. Unfortunately, because none of this work's being done, the developer is not responding. We cannot have an HOA turned over to us that even if the community wants to take control of hiring a landscaper, getting somebody to take care of the potholes, I don't know. Okay. Part of the problem is nobody knows what is whose responsibilities. Okay. Is the town of Troutman responsible for the potholes, or is the developer responsible? Is Troutman responsible for the roundabout? Who's in charge of the greens?
Thank you.
I'm going to get off here, but I have 1 second to say I was very envious looking at the pictures that Pulte put up there of their greenway. I need somebody to come take a walk through our community and greenway with me. Our greenway is horrible.
Thank you.
There's puddles that you can't even walk through on our greenway because it runs down off of the side, and the runoff ponds look like you'd get malaria. They haven't been tended to.
Thank you. Andrew, any response at this point from the developer?
The last response I heard from the developer was he was waiting on a land transaction at the end of the month to get money to finish this development. So this may be another one of the cases we'll have to look at going after the bonds.
Okay.
In addition to what Andrew said, I sympathize with the situation that you're in, and please don't look at it as we're passing the buck, but legally, there's certain things we can do to make sure that they are building to compliance, but it is also on you and the HOA. If your HO people's not doing what you pay them for, then you've got recourse for that. But like potholes in streets, for example, they're not our streets yet. They've not been built that way. So just because there's potholes there, and I understand that it's aggravating, can even cause vehicle damage, that is something that is on the master developer and not us in these construction zones. I sympathize with you and the rest of the neighbors that I speak to on occasion about that, but that's not something we can enforce other than Andrew checking with our engineers and making sure that the timelines on certain things have been adhered to, and or, as he stated, pursue the bonds to ensure that the work gets done.
Well, nothing's being done, and honestly, it's starting to look horrific for a 2-year-old community.
Ma'am, ever since that developer went out there, I thought it looked horrific, but that's my opinion. I don't.
What recourse do you got? You talked about a bond. You can exercise that, because this development's been up for over 3 years.
Sir, I understand, but for record purposes, you got to talk to the microphone. But the recourse for the bonds is Andrew pursues that, and then we go after the company to ensure that the work is completed.
Our HOA is just.
Sir?
Okay,
Excuse
I'm
me,
going to
yeah.
come in here. The HOA has not been turned over to the community
Right,
yet.
you're not able to do that yet at
And
this point.
Andrew knows that they don't answer their phone or their calls. People have called, people have emailed. He doesn't, totally ignores, unless you're mailing him $50 to get a project done.
Okay.
You don't hear from him.
Okay.
And that was one of the original things I went to Andrew about in February. How do we address the HOA? He doesn't respond by phone, by email, and
At some point in time, you and some other neighbors has got to determine what that is worth to you. And I'm not trying to get somebody else to handle your affairs. I'm saying we will do what we can as far as things being built. But if they're ignoring you that way, there are legal avenues that you all can pursue. I understand that it costs money, but then you can litigate that as to what it cost you because they're failing to do what your contract says they should have done.
I guess, it's one of those things, you say it's a legal thing. All these new communities you want to put in and everything, it's a legal thing. And if it doesn't turn out like this or it doesn't work out, it becomes a legal thing for the people to do it. When does the town take responsibility for what they've allowed that hasn't turned out the way it's supposed to be?
Same question, and on the flip side of that coin, when is it the town's responsibility for you and others to fulfill your due diligence instead of asking us to do it?
Yeah.
I've done my due diligence.
Ma'am,
I've carried
thank you.
buckets of snow.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, next.
I'm sorry, just one other question. How will I know if Andrew's addressed this and if the developer is going to do anything?
We'll respond to you in our comments, ma'am. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to the council? Okay. All right, if not, we're going to do our round robin, then we're going to come back to this last exchange. Mr. Jarozinski.
I have no comments at this time.
Okay. Ms. Harris?
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. If you're looking back at it now, we appreciate all of your comments and for your presence on tonight. If you watched tonight, thank you for watching on tonight. Happy Father's Day, and we hope to see everyone at Party in the Park on June 13th. Also, our prayers go out to our, what is she? Citizen of the Year, Anna, as many of you have seen. Her home burned down, so our prayers go out to her. And also one of our regular attendees, Mary Stark, who's usually here until her health started failing, has passed away. Just continue to keep her family in your prayers as well. Also Citizen of the Year as well. So just continue to keep our Troutman community in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hinkle. Okay. Mr. Archer.
Yeah. Condolences to the Stark family and to Anna and her family. And also happy Father's Day, everybody.
Again, same for me in terms of Ms. Starks. Again, former Citizen of the Year, a great citizen for our town, and really involved in our town events and community. And our thoughts and prayers go out to her family, and also Anna and her family as they try to recover from their loss of their home. And so hopefully they'll start to recover here soon. Next item is just my overall comments. Again, I too appreciate everyone being here, and I especially appreciate folks who are willing to, and I state this in many cases, practice civility in our chambers. It doesn't happen much in our nation today, and I appreciate when it happens in our chambers. And again, a lot of the things that occur here are decisions that this council doesn't ask to be put in that position in terms of what they're being asked. But what they have done is made a decision to put themselves out there to respond to what those requests are for our community. And again, I want to state that I appreciate them doing that. I also appreciate the staff in trying to keep us informed and keep us moving appropriately as we deal with some of these issues. And again, it's not always the prettiest thing. It's usually, this is what we call the sausage making process. And so it doesn't always look good, but hopefully we're trying to do something that in the end, in the long term, it will be better for our town. I want to respond a little bit to the last comments and exchange around developers in our community that have not done what they're supposed to when they presented themselves that way. That can be very concerning, I think, for not just myself, but for this council. Most of, if not all the developers that I'm aware of, the majority of them do what they say they're going to do. And so we don't have very many of them that show up and half do it and just some of the things you described. There are responsibilities, I think, for those developers to do what they're supposed to. We will have conversations with staff in terms of our bond and what we have to do on our part. I would say there's a continued process that Mr. Wyatt was explaining in terms of challenging those developers. I know they're not answering the phone or what have you. The reason I'm on this council is because of an issue that my development had. That's why I'm on this council. And I got it involved in my community, and there was a vacancy, and a council member asked me would I run because I had to respond to a developer issue. Now, that issue turned out to be something that this council could help us with. And so that's when I found out, quite honestly, it's not something that always the town of Troutman can address. It has to be something that that community addresses. And so that's what we had to do at that time. So again, I appreciate the feedback and information. I think the council and the staff takes that under consideration, takes it seriously. But again, I just want to make sure that you understand that that's not an occasion that happens in our town, and it's not an expectation. I want to make sure that every developer knows that, you know, when they make promises to the citizens of the town, that they follow through with that. With that, I will turn it over to Mr. Wyatt for staff comments and reports.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you all stated, numerous times before, not just tonight, the only way our community gets better is to hear all sides. We all have opinions, but as an analogy I have used before, not necessarily an analogy, but a comparison, sometimes parents disagree on how to raise their children. Does that make one of them bad and the other one better, or does that make one of them profiting somehow or another because they didn't spank a child when they need to be spanked, or does it mean one of them should go to jail because they did spank a child for doing whatever? There's different beliefs and opinions on how we all do things, but just like tonight, I don't know how well you all heard it, but I heard at least two different ones threaten staff and or you all. That's getting a little bit old with what's happening around the country, that people think they can fire off and say something, and then we're supposed to just fall in line because they said something ignorant. That part bothers me. It concerns me for the safety and welfare of my staff and also you as elected officials. But that's all I have to say that. As far as people being passionate about their points of view, that's what makes us better if we can discuss and handle things as adults. When it gets accusatory, that's across the line. And that's all I'll say.
Thank you. At this time, there are a motion to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A5 to discuss property acquisition.
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, hearing none. Motion passes. We'll go into closed session. Who do we need?
Clerk, you all, and our attorney, please.
Thank you.
Justin.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. Have a good night.